And welcome to episode number 29 of Tally Benchwarmers. Your unofficial, definitely not expert take on the latest in local sports, mostly college, although we're going to talk pros this week. We're going to backbench, our baseball team and softball teams here in the Tallahassee region, but we got a lot more to talk about, too. I am your head bench warmer. David Mullins is my cap right. I flew into the right airport today, so we're good to go.
Not from Wisconsin.
Not from, Hey, and joining me on the bench, we've got, she's kind of a newbie back to the bench here.
I am the OG.
You're the OG.
She's the brand new.
I'm the new
original.
old.
You're the brand new original. Lynn Hatter, director of content, the head drum major, but more, you're the cheerleader here. You're the head cheerleader for this benchwarmer group because at times over the past number of months when we may have felt down, we'd go talk to Lynn and she'd say, "What are you talking to me about?
Get back in there."
She'd just say, "Get out of my office," usually.
Y'all got this. Y'all got this. Y'all have done an amazing job.
So thanks for joining us, Lynn. She is also our NFL draft expert.
I am.
Eric, I'm sorry to be telling you that, but
I've
she's
been
the
watching
NFL
very
draft
closely.
expert. I believe we're going to have to lean on Lynn a lot.
She's in the hot chair.
Yes.
She is. Well, yeah, absolutely.
I have
we're
deep,
going to do it if
profound thoughts.
Oh man, that's.
We're not ready for that.
They might not be accurate, but I have deep,
I'm a
profound.
bit nervous about that.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's a lot.
Yeah, Jennifer, how you doing? Jennifer Tappan, CFO. We're going to be talking to you about, what are we going to talk to you about today?
I don't know.
You're not going to be the expert on anything today?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No.
She's always the expert.
Well, if it comes to numbers, if we need a spreadsheet,
I'm your person.
she's the one we go to.
There you
Eric
go.
Carter, assistant chief engineer, guru. I always say this: guru of all things Florida State University.
I try.
And Florida State University sports in particular.
Tallahassee. The
Tallahassee, that's right. City of champions, man. City of champions. So before we really kind of pivot over to some of our FSU and FAMU sports, it was kind of a busy sports weekend in general, but, something happened that began Thursday of last week that we really need to talk about. Wasn't it Thursday?
There was an event that took
There
place
was an
this
event?
week?
There was something I heard about that. Yeah,
Not in Tallahassee.
Oh, okay.
This event took
All right.
place, and I don't know where it was. It was the
Lambeau.
NFL draft and Lambeau Field. Well,
Yes.
see, that's why you should be talking about this. You're a huge Packer fan. You
Yeah.
are the Packer. Yeah,
She's a cheesehead.
She's a cheesehead. She needs to
well,
wear cheese.
I'm a Jaguars fan.
Go
number
Jaguars!
one.
Go Jaguars.
But
Yeah.
they're kind of hard to root for.
I don't know.
So-
They had a good.
They
had
have
a
been.
good Thursday.
Yeah, they did.
They did.
So let's talk about Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and I guess even into Sunday. But Lynn, what did you think about the event of Thursday that kind of transpired, took place over a number of days?
So
A lot of people happy, a lot of people not happy.
Well, as a Jaguars fan, I would say we are extremely thrilled. I
Yes.
think you see
Yes,
a
yes.
Jaguars
Yeah.
franchise that is finally getting serious. And I say this after being a long-suffering fan. It renewed my faith. It renewed my faith. I think that the Jaguars have finally made the front office decisions that they have needed to make for a very long time that maybe they may have been resistant to make. And I think we're now starting to see the fruits of that. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about Travis Hunter.
By the way, breaking
missed the
news.
memo.
Breaking news, the Jaguars are trading Travis Hunter to the Cleveland Browns for Deshaun Watson.
Never.
No?
They,
Okay.
Cleveland can keep that. Cleveland,
Okay.
y'all can have that. Do what you will. But adding Travis Hunter and making the trade move that they made shows that this is a team that is getting serious about its franchise. They've got a new stadium in progress.
Mm-hmm.
People have long been like, Jaguars, give us something. Like, we've
They
had.
give you a party every time. I don't know what you're talking about.
Is it a party?
Ian,
It's a party every time.
okay, you're on that upper
even
deck.
during losses.
He's telling you about
Yeah.
being on that upper deck. I mean, we got a
Yes.
pool. We got a pool, but give us more than a pool, right?
Uh-huh.
And
Good team.
looking at what happened to the Jaguars, last season after all of us fans having our expectations amped up and then just suffering Sunday after Sunday after Sunday.
They pulled a Jaguars.
They did pull a Jaguars.
they
But
pulled a-
this time,
They
I
pulled a
renewed my
Seminole.
season tickets based on this decision. And my husband and I, we talked long and hard about whether we were going to do it. Because that's a lot of money to have to sit there and, watch it get flushed down the drain. So as a Jags fan, I am truly excited about the addition of Travis Hunter. I am looking forward, to seeing Trevor Lawrence and how they sort of interact with one another. Like, how sticky are his fingers?
Yeah, hopefully their interaction is in receptions.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
A lot of them being touchdown related.
That
right?
is our
Okay.
hope. That is our
That's
dream.
the only
First
thing-
down Jaguars.
That's
Yes,
right.
we
yeah.
want to hear lots
Yeah.
of that. We want to hear, touchdown Jaguars.
Yeah.
We want to see those forts being converted. We want to see a lot of things.
Yeah.
So I am really excited for Jacksonville. I think that this gave that team a much needed shot in the arm. And hopefully, they'll be able to pay it forward. So that was a big, big monster Thursday night move. In fact, it overshadowed the number 1 pick.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah. Well,
I mean,
a
I'm
lot
so
of
sorry,
things,
Cam. I'm so
overshadowed
sorry,
them
Cam
one pick,
Ward.
but, if he was going to any place, but Tennessee, people just don't really think about the Titans. If he was going to like the Jets or New England or something like
New York.
that, just or the Giants, either New York team, yeah.
Yeah.
But the Tennessee Titans, but yeah, Cam Ward, number 1 pick.
Cam
Yeah.
Ward,
Yeah.
number 1 pick. And that is a story. I mean, that is a story of grit. It's a story of perseverance. It's a story of, not quitting. And it's a story of hustling. And I think,
And he
props-
hopes it's a story of, hey, I've got an arm and I got
and I've
got
got
an offensive
arm.
line that's going to block for me and I can
Yes.
score some points.
And
Yeah.
and we got to give a clap, to
Yeah.
Cam Ward. Starting out
Even though he was from the dreaded Hurricanes last
Yes.
year. Yeah.
Well, his story begins at
Yeah.
Incarnate World. We
Yes.
cannot underestimate that.
Yeah.
Like,
That is a powerhouse school.
That is, yeah. So much so. Well, he broke records or whatever for 2 years there. Right?
He did. He
Yeah.
did. And, that kid, he worked hard. He overcame a lot.
Yeah.
He did his business. And he's now being able to sort of reap part of the reward for that. And that was another major story, coming out of the draft. And
Yeah.
then you have, of course,
Before we get there.
Before we go,
Before we go.
we've
there.
got to
Before
at
we get
least
there.
recognize that FSU had some picks, right? Tim?
Yeah,
Is
but,
that
you know,
well? I don't know if
wanted
that's
to
where
talk
you're
a little
going.
bit more about, Cam.
Okay.
The blessing of being a number 1 pick is you're the number 1 pick.
Yeah.
The curse of being a number 1 pick as a
Yeah.
quarterback.
And
Number
going
one
in
pick,
probably
yeah.
to expect
You go to
it
a
be
team.
starting.
You go to a team that really desperately needed a
Yeah.
quarterback because they sucked.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
And 9 times of the reason that they sucked is because their offensive line
Yeah.
can't block.
So does the Jaguars from a few years ago? Does that make you
Yeah,
deeper?
yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody
When
thought
Sunshine
Trevor
went
Lawrence,
there.
Yeah, when Sunshine.
He was hailed as the
Sunshine.
savior.
Hey, Sunshine.
Well, he did. He lifted
He
them
did.
out
He
of
did.
the depression,
Yeah.
and
He did.
they became playoff teams. So,
Yeah.
like you said, the expectations rose.
Then we went back to the wilderness.
Well, there was a lot that happened. Sunshine got hurt, and
Yeah.
when your quarterback gets hurt, it changed the dynamic of your team. But, like you said, we had some FSU guys that got
Yeah, we
drafted.
did.
Yeah,
did.
we sure did.
And I was joking. Diehard FSU fan, but I was joking. I was like, we actually had people in the draft this year
Yeah.
after our season,
Yeah,
but we had
yeah.
some. We always have some exceptional talent.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
We
It was
always
Ari
have some-
Thomas
Yes.
in the defensive backfield.
Yes.
He was selected. Josh Farmer.
Yes, Josh
Also,
Farmer also.
but both of them relatively lower round picks.
Yeah. Well,
but-
that's indicative of the season that the
that's
FSU
true.
had. When your
yeah,
brand takes a big hit like that,
Then you take a big hit.
Yeah.
your draft stock goes down.
yeah,
You know.
You think about it like this: in the first 2 rounds of the 64 picks, the majority of them were from the SEC and the Big Ten.
Yep. Yep.
So
And there was a lot of good things going on with FSU, on the field, off the field. All of that matters when you're going in
Right.
for, the most important job interview, really, that you will ever have.
absolutely,
Yeah.
All of it matters. And even the stuff that you as a player cannot control.
Yeah.
That's just the nature of the business. And that's what we talk about, college sports right now, it's a business. And
It's
so
been
it's
a business for a
professional.
while.
And now it's officially a business.
Yes.
We can officially call it a
I tell you
business.
what, Eric though was surprised that DJ didn't get drafted.
Yes, I thought DJ would actually
Seriously?
get drafted before the lead-in to
Come on now.
The
Shedeur.
lead into Shedeur.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, at that point, I would have hollered collusion.
So yeah.
Speaking of,
the Shedeur story overtook everything else in the
did.
draft,
Yes, it did.
and it
did.
continues to. I
Yeah.
think it seems to.
and I personally think it is an important conversation to have.
Yeah.
Because we're at a point where, you have a couple of things that are coming together. You have the business of sports, you have the celebrity of sports, you have the generation of sport. He comes from a football family, a dynasty. We've had sports Nepo babies before, but not to this particular level. And I say Nepo
Sports
baby with
Nepo
love.
Babies. That's an interesting comment.
She
you
needed
know,
to coin that.
I did,
think you
and
did.
I'll say it. We have sports Nepo babies, but not
Yes.
necessarily to this level. And then you have a couple of other issues. You have want versus need, and then you have perception versus reality. And I think all of these things sort of came to a head in this one person. And that's what makes this, I think, a really interesting conversation about culture and about value. And, for those who don't know, Shedeur at one point was expected to go in round one.
Shedeur Sanders.
Shedeur
we
Sanders.
Need to, for
Shedeur
those that may
Sanders.
not be, who've been
He is-
living under a rock for
He
the
is
last
the son
year.
of
Yeah.
Florida State University legend
Wait a
and
second.
professional football legend Deion Sanders.
Deion Sanders is not a Seminole,
No,
as
no.
quoted by him.
No, she said Florida State Seminole legend. He
Yeah.
didn't say
He's
his
not a
name is still up there in the ring.
I said Florida
ring.
State
Yeah.
University legend.
We
So-
gave him
State
his name,
Seminole.
but he is not a Seminole.
Well, actually, his mother gave him his name, technically.
We gave him Neon Dion.
Neon Dion.
Let's table that for
He
a second.
is-
That's worth the
He
comment
is
here.
the child of a legend. And, feel about Deion, however a lot of people feel about Deion, but Deion achieved some absolutely remarkable things, and that cannot be taken away. He is in the NFL Hall of Fame. He is a great
And a successful college coach.
and a very successful college coach across all levels. Shedeur had that riding on him.
And
you know,
That's a lot.
he had a
That's a
very
lot.
decent career as a quarterback at Colorado.
He
maybe
did.
not in the win and
But
loss column.
wait a second.
Yeah,
But
not in the wins and
If
losses.
would he have had that great of a career if it weren't for Travis Hunter?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I think you can say that about a lot of quarterbacks.
Right.
Yeah.
There's
Right.
always a
You know,
partner.
Yeah.
And would he have had that great a career if his father had not been there almost every step of the way? So, to that point, and I have a lot of thoughts about this. The expectation was that
surprises me.
Shedeur Sanders was going to go in the first. He ended up going in the fifth. And I've watched a lot of people who have said, oh, it was his attitude. Oh, it was his father. Or the anonymous report that was like, oh, he had the worst interview I've ever seen. To me, I think it is a culmination of things. If you look across this overall draft class, this was not a draft class full of stars. Overall, in general, it was a relatively I'll use the term mid,
I like that term.
draft class. So
Yeah.
this was not a draft class full of stars. Secondly, Shedeur is a quarterback, and normally quarterbacks do go high. However, there weren't a lot of teams that were in desperate need, and there's a difference between need versus want.
Yeah, but how many went before him? I'm trying to remember. Is he like the
Five.
fifth quarterback?
Five.
He was like the
Exactly.
sixth quarterback pick.
But
Yeah,
there was not a lot of teams that were in desperate need of a quarterback,
yeah.
right? So you
Except
have a
the
mid
Browns
class.
need at least two.
They just spent
Because the
$235 million
Yeah.
on
So
Deshaun
the- so the
Watson.
Browns
So we could
clearly-
talk about the
yeah,
Browns
yeah.
situation,
But,
but they
yeah,
already had
yeah.
three in the
They got three vets,
so
and now they hired.
I would argue that they
drafted
didn't need
two.
a quarterback.
Yeah,
Right.
so
They
the-
already had
yeah.
three in the bank.
So maybe they're brilliant. Maybe
And
this is
then
the whole strategy for them.
The other thing is,
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
you look at Shedeur's
Trade bait.
performance across these
Yeah.
seasons, there were a lot of questions about him holding on to the ball too long, the tells that he has when he's about to throw it. There were some questionable plays at varying different points.
We've got our own Mel Kiper here. This is
no,
incredible.
I'm just being
She
honest,
has done-
and I've
she's
said
done her
all
research.
season,
You said
and
I
I've
had to give
said
it up.
all season that Shedeur is not as good as the hype that surrounds him, and I will stay that way, and I will continue to maintain it. Marketing is a beautiful thing, but marketing can also come back and bite you in the tail feathers. And I
Yeah.
think what you
Yeah.
saw
And
going
Marcus
into
Russell.
the draft, exactly, like being
Yeah.
overly hyped, overly marketed.
Ryan
The
Leaf.
expectations are all
Ryan
up
Leaf,
here, but on paper, somebody can look great.
So my question for Eric, though, real quick, Shadur, did he throw an accurate ball consistently? I'm not remembering from college.
During the season, he was actually the most accurate.
Was he?
this
See, I mean,
season.
that's those are
But,
things
you know-
that you got to grade.
However,
Yeah. However.
there's a
Okay.
however there,
Okay.
right? And you and I talked about this.
Yeah.
Very, very accurate. But the decision making behind that accuracy, there were questions. Shedeur took a heck of a lot of hits.
He held. That was one of the
Yeah.
things.
He
He
was
held on.
holding
He tried to
on.
make. He tried to make the plays.
He
when
was trying to
shouldn't
make the
have. Yeah,
plays.
Yeah.
How
yeah.
selfless
Mhm.
is he? There were
Not
times
very.
where he could,
Well,
to your point, Jen,
Yeah.
there were times when he could have thrown away the ball. He chose not to throw away the ball. You throw away the ball, your accuracy percentage goes down, right? So there are a lot of questions there. And then you add on, in addition to that, and I go back to how much of his decision making is him as an individual versus how much of his decision making is he and his father, because at some point you've got to cut the cord.
Well,
And this is a major consideration and a major question for a lot of teams, because he has only ever, with the exception of I think about 2 years, been coached by his father.
I really think that he went in the draft where he should have gone. If you combine his talent, his leadership skills, his maturity level, his team player kind of attitude, combining all of that, he has good talent. He has great potential, but you can't be an NFL star quarterback with his attitude.
Well,
You
I
can't
forget one
be-
thing.
I
How
beg to
tall is
differ there.
Shadur?
6'2".
He's 6'2".
I beg to
so he's-
differ there, and the reason
got
I say
almost
that,
the-
I say that is because a lot of quarterbacks come out with an attitude.
Well,
And
yeah,
they come
for
out with
sure.
a chip.
Johnny Manziel.
You
You
got
got-
Johnny Manziel, you
Yeah.
got Baker Mayfield,
And how did they work?
but this is the thing.
Yeah.
Those guys weren't scrutinized like Shedeur was. Shedeur's been scrutinized for the past 2 years on a level that nobody else
I
has.
don't know. I think Johnny
I-
Manziel was probably.
Johnny
Well, Johnny
Manziel-
Manziel
But
brought
he
that on
couldn't- he-
himself.
Johnny
Yeah,
was
so did
dominating.
Shedeur.
You know.
Shedeur brought it on himself, and so
Well,
did his dad.
Well, see,
Like,
this is the thing.
Hey, I'm going to
I-
give us another 90 seconds to talk about
Yeah.
Shadur. I'm looking at the clock, so go.
With Shedeur, I want to touch on what you
Yeah.
said as far as wants and needs
Mm-hmm.
and value.
Yes,
In this draft, not a lot of teams needed a quarterback.
very important.
Some teams didn't really want a quarterback, but they knew, hey, I can use this person to for bait
Yeah.
later on, like we talked about,
Or,
draft bait,
just
And then-
to mold them as a backup.
right?
Too,
And then your value is
Mm-hmm.
determined by the team that picks you. So.
To Jen's point, yeah.
To Jen's point, your value is picked. The only thing I have a little bit of angst with is before Shedeur got picked, the Cleveland GM comes out basically saying he's not a good fit. Then you turn around the next day and you pick him.
And you pick him, yeah. But you pick him after you've already picked Dylan Gabriel.
Yeah, but the thing is you
pick a. He didn't pick a. Like they didn't. I don't think the
Sure
Browns picked them because he wanted them. I think they picked him because he's trade bait.
No, well, if
I
then
can
they,
agree with
they
that.
wanted
Yeah,
him.
I don't. I mean, they
that's-
wanted him for not to be their quarterback. They wanted him for something else.
well, we'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, we'll
won't
see
we?
what
Yeah.
happens. Obviously,
If
but,
Joe Flacco, falls on his face, if Kenny Pickett falls,
he will.
Kenny Pickett
It's
could easily
Flacco.
fall on his face. I
He's
think.
done
Deshaun
that.
Watson
Well,
gets
Deshaun,
one more too many
but
massages.
Deshaun's got an ACL. I think he's going to be out
Yeah,
for the
he's gonna be
season
out for the
anyway.
season.
So
Probably getting
wouldn't it be
massages.
funny if the two quarterbacks that
they-
end up that are going to be Dylan Gabriel
One and two?
Shadur? Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be now highly unlikely, but still.
Yeah.
Yeah, highly unlikely. So the Shedeur saga will continue
Oh yeah.
for a while now.
All the way through the
Yeah,
season.
all the way through the season. Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
yeah, depending on where he ends up and
Yeah.
all that. Yeah.
Sometimes even bad
So-
press makes you money.
So, I
Absolutely.
go back to my first point. There was an event that happened last Thursday, and it was worth talking about,
Oh yeah.
right?
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
been worth.
But-
We had a lot of
but-
talk.
But the Jags have Travis Hunter.
Yeah. Let's
But I'm assuming that breaking
hold on
news
to
that I
him.
just had was not correct.
Fake news.
yeah.
Is that fake news?
Fake news.
Fake news.
I think it came from a
Yeah.
station starting with an F and an ending with an X.
Oh no, I'm not going there. I'm not going there at all. No. So other things that have been happening in the last few days have been NHL and NBA playoffs.
Yes.
I know we're going to talk NBA almost exclusively here, but I got to throw in the fact that the Lightning, who I believe are the Tampa Bay Lightning, are they not the defending NHL champs?
Yes, they are.
Yes, they
They're,
are.
they're down
and
2-1 to the Panthers in the first round.
Another
Crazy.
Florida team.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Another Florida
Two
team.
Another
Florida
Florida
teams
team.
in the
Yeah.
NHL playoffs.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I love the
Hockey,
Panthers.
a
And
Florida
wait, I
sport.
think
Florida
that-
sport is
No.
hockey.
No, I think that back the Panthers won the NHL last year, right? I think.
Yes,
I
it was
think
the Panthers because
won.
that's
Yeah.
when the governor
Yeah,
made a
absolutely.
bet.
Yeah.
Oh.
What in the heck am I thinking about?
I
But the
look at it
Lightning
hey,
have
we got
like two
snow, so
times.
it's
Yeah.
coming for us.
But yeah, the Florida teams are rocking it.
That's like
here
the
lately.
Jamaican bobsled
Yeah,
team.
that's true. But
You know, my brother plays hockey and has for,
really,
I don't
In
know.
Florida,
Yes, he lives in Jacksonville.
I love it.
He plays hockey. He's been playing hockey since he was in middle school
Did you
here
know
in
there
Tallahassee.
used to be a hockey team here in Tallahassee?
Yeah,
that's right.
Oh, the
yeah.
Tiger Sharks.
That's
I'd
right.
Wouldn't it be
love
cool if
to
they
have
brought them
them.
back?
Yes.
You know,
I
we could
love
bring the
them.
Tiger Sharks back. Kind of
That
like
would be
the,
amazing.
Yeah, that
They
would be
still
great.
hold the record for the longest fight in professional hockey history. There's
I
video
gotta
of it. I
Google
think it was
that.
like 17
Gotta
minutes or
Google
something
that,
fighting on the
man.
ice.
Yeah.
I think I was at that
That's
game
like
probably.
the best part of hockey.
Oh yeah,
like
it was
watch the
amazing.
When the
Yeah.
gloves,
That's
when the
why
gloves
people
drop.
go to see, NASCAR races. They want to see.
The wreck.
They
Rubbing.
want to see the wreck. They want
Yeah.
to see the wreck.
If you ain't
How
rubbing, you ain't
ethically
racing.
can you flame out? That is the,
So anyway, before we talk about NBA playoffs, you said sunshine, and I'm just I go off on these tangents. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, my brain goes this way. You know, from remember the Titans,
That's
the
correct.
kids, sunshine. Do you know that the guy who was the actual sunshine for that team went on to work, I think at ESPN.
Really?
Yeah,
That's
Oh,
awesome.
wow.
the actual quarterback used to work for. So anyway, sorry, Lynn. This is what happens as my brain goes
Hey,
weird
you're good.
places.
That's-
you're
And
good.
then they-
Hockey is not
yeah,
my speed.
hockey's not
I
your
know my
speed.
lanes. I know my lanes.
You know it enough
I know my
to
lanes.
enjoy the fights.
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah, and there's probably been at least some almost fights on the basketball courts
Yes.
the last few.
It's been
few
pretty
days.
testy.
Yeah, it has been a little testy.
Yeah.
After the Jimmy Butler injury,
Yes.
there were some questions about whether that Rockets player intentionally went underneath him, but Golden State still is holding a
Yeah.
2-1.
They're holding
2-1
serve.
lead. Yeah, holding serve. Golden State and the Rockets. So the Clippers and the Nuggets, though, it seems to be maybe the best series going around right now.
Right now,
They're
yes.
tied 2-2.
2-2.
Nuggets came back. Was it this last game that went at the last second
Yes.
where Joker threw up an air ball and just I forget who it was that caught it and put it in just as the time ran out.
time ran
Yeah,
out.
They were tied at that
Yes.
time, and then so
That was exciting.
yeah.
Very exciting.
I feel like the playoffs, though, overall this year have not felt as competitive.
There have been
I
some
think
lopsided scores.
there have been
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
Well,
scores.
that was in that
that
Memphis series.
yeah, that one was rough. But I mean, when I was little, I used to love basketball, and I've been kind of like in and out of the playoffs this year. But I have seen some games. I'm not trying to be funny. That have been just god awful and totally not what I would expect from
That's
the
what happens in
NBA
NBA lots of times.
playoffs.
Yeah.
And it just kind of makes me feel, I think, especially as a more casual fan, like what's going on here? Is this a talent problem? Is this a coaching problem? Have they made so many changes to the game that it's now sort of watered it down from the level of competition that it used to be. I mean, you still have your stars, right? But our stars are getting older.
Well, but
Like,
you've
do
got
we
a lot
have-
more fouls called in the
You
NBA
do have a lot
now
more
than you
fouls.
did 15 years ago.
the
And I
rule
just
changes.
think
The
that
Jordan
that
era.
again,
Yeah.
The
yeah,
rule changes
was
that
it
you
the rule changes?
the rule changes
Yeah.
you mentioned did
Yeah.
change the dynamic of the game because the NBA used to be more of a defensive.
Exactly.
Defense wins championships.
And it used to
Yeah.
be more
Still
physical.
does.
Yeah.
But, you have more actors now because there's a lot of flops.
Thespians.
Yes,
The,
thespians.
the thespians, those who grew up in theater as children.
LeBron.
Oh, sorry. But I mean, the feeling of the game
I
has changed.
I have not been to an NBA game in
And
so long.
I know, and it's sad, though, because when you look at a score that's something stupid, like 58 to like 130, real
Okay,
score.
yeah, but
You
that-
gotta
that-
really
that's-
question.
that happens in college ball too.
It,
That
well,
happen
that's
a-
the
yeah,
problem. That
so- although you may not
should
get
that be
130
happening?
scored at college
Should
games,
that
yeah.
be happening?
Well, maybe
in
they have a
an-
run
in
rule
an
in
NBA
basketball.
No.
playoff game, and that wasn't the only
No, the
game.
It
playoff
happens in
that was
every
looking.
sport
Yeah, it
playoffs.
does.
Yeah,
I mean,
it
you
does.
always have one or two, either a game where it's completely unmatched or a series where it's completely
But have you
unmatched. I mean,
seen
it just
like,
happens.
it happens occasionally.
It happens
but
in
have you-
football.
well,
it
well,
happens
but-
in.
Have you
Yeah,
seen it
sometimes
to
in the
extent,
Super Bowl
I
where
think
the
that you've been
Bills
seeing
lose
it
to the
this.
Cowboys.
Or
Yeah.
the Eagles spank up on.
Exactly.
Chiefs.
And I mean, I know
Exactly,
that,
yeah.
but
So
like to
that
the
just
extent
happens.
that it's happening, I think now
Okay.
kind of like gives me pause as a fan to make me question of like, what have you done to the game?
So I'm wondering, she has pivoted from the NFL Draft Insider to now like an
Yeah, the casual basketball
but
outsider.
now
I mean, I have my strengths
maybe
and I
you're
have
a
my weaknesses.
casual NBA insider too.
But I
This
used
is
to be.
impressing me
I mean,
right
I
now.
used to be.
You sure? Maybe you want to be a bench
warmer.
You want to be on the bench permanently?
She's
I
That
mean,
is incredible.
We call ourselves
I am-
bench warmers for a
I
reason.
am. Are you impressed? It's surprising me.
It just really felt, I don't know, because like I said, I've been in and out of the playoffs, and
you?
I feel like something
Okay.
just feels off to me.
Well, I think it
about
feels off to the teams
watching-
right now. They're losing, like the Heat are losing to the Cavs. I mean, the Cavs beating the
Orlando.
Heat. Orlando is, and the Thunder are on their thunder are going to thunder their way to the finals,
Yes.
probably. Yeah.
But you got
Talking
Golden
about-
State.
I
Yeah.
tell you what. So wouldn't that be great? Golden State plays Oklahoma City for
Oldies and
the
goodies.
West Championship. The
Yes.
old guard and the new guard.
Steph.
I'm staying by what was the prediction for a long time. It was Cleveland versus Oklahoma City in the finals.
I don't know
and
about
I don't think
Cleveland.
ABC or ESPN really like that. They want to have some other markets. They'd love to see the Knicks.
Knicks and Golden State.
Even more than Boston. I think probably the
Yeah.
NBA like to see the Knicks.
They're playing good.
They're playing good.
Those are my Knicks.
Yeah.
Growing up in New York.
But Boston and Cleveland are probably still the cream of the crop on the East. Oklahoma City, and really, I mean, I think that second team on the West is up for grabs. The
Yeah.
Clippers they thought would, but now they're not. They're tied.
they
with,
thought the
with
Lakers
Denver.
were going to do something.
They thought
you
with
know.
Luka, that's got.
Luka actually had a good game.
I know. Well, have you noticed? They are like flip flopping. Sorry about this, because I'm going to talk about LeBron. LeBron has a big game and they lose. Luka has a big game, but they're not having a big game at the same time. It's almost like they can't share.
It's not
They can't
enough
even-
basketball.
They
LeBron
can't-
doesn't share well.
Well, I'm telling you,
He doesn't play well with others.
LeBron. I'll defend LeBron. I'm not.
does.
I think he's a great basketball player.
He's a great passer, and he does dish the ball. LeBron sometimes will shy away from taking the big shot. Now, that's been his
knock.
Yeah,
He doesn't.
That's been a knock.
He doesn't. He doesn't have that Mamba feeling.
The Mamba feeling. Yeah, the Mamba feeling.
Listen,
And in that
I
moment, my heart just broke.
Is that this the Mamba? Oh, man, I tell you, I miss
That's Kobe.
I miss
Yeah, I
Kobe
know.
so much. Yeah, yeah. You always hear the comparisons Kobe and Jordan, and if anybody's going to be close to Jordan, it's going to be Kobe.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not LeBron.
No.
It's not anybody else.
It's the mentality.
It's the mentality.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's the mentality, it's the physicality, it's
Yeah. Talking about mentality and physicality. I hear the war chant.
Yes.
That means we're going to talk a little bit FSU sports.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
But we've got some things before we talk about our baseball and softball teams. And let's celebrate those that either were drafted for the NFL by the Noles and or that are picked up as free agents.
Yeah.
Yes,
Let's
go
hope
Noles.
let's hope that was Mr. FSU Sports Guru was the 2 draftees. Was that like the lowest number of FSU draftees that you can remember?
In a long
In a long
time.
time.
That's what I figured.
And for them
Yeah.
to go that late in
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
draft, it's been a long time since that happened.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
again, forces external and internal.
Mhm.
Players can be outstanding. There's only so much that a player can control. The only thing they can really control is how well they put out on the field. And, kudos to those guys who, put out enough to be drafted. It's, you never know where it's going to go.
Yeah.
Every year is different.
You know what? Another thing that I never know where it's going to go is when I hit a tennis ball. I never know
That's
where that
me
ball's
and a
gonna
golf-
go.
golf
Is that you and a golf ball too?
I'm a lefty. Golf is not my friend.
Yeah. So, but to talk about a little bit about tennis, how was that for a transition? That was pretty
That was
good, wasn't it?
good.
That was
yeah, I
excellent.
thought so.
Good pivot.
It was a good pivot. Yeah. I tend to pick up my pivot foot though. That's why I always get called for traveling though. But anyway, another sport. FSU men's tennis team has 4 players on the all ACC team.
Go
Yeah.
Noles.
Yeah, they were kind of middle of the pack
Yeah.
as a team in the conference, but yeah, it's great to see some
Absolutely.
individuals players there. And on the women's side, Eva Shaw and Maria Juliana
Mm-hmm.
and Paris Romero received all ACC honors also.
Yes.
That's awesome.
So,
That's good.
and last week we were celebrating the women's golf team who won the
Mm-hmm.
ACC and are on their
yes.
way to NCAA championship world.
Tallahassee golf
Yeah.
teams, regardless of school, they have historically all been very, very good.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's something about golf in this community. Probably our
We got a lot of golf
proliferation
courses.
of golf courses.
We got a
really.
lot of
We've-
golf courses here. in
We've got a lot of
Tallahassee.
golf courses. There's lots of places they can go to practice. But historically, all of our golf teams have been outstanding.
Yeah. Lynn missed what we were talking about last week, and we all agreed that we were going to maybe have a Benchwarmer golf team that we would try to form.
You can be that
I-
lefty.
we-
I need the
yeah,
lefty
can-
clubs,
yeah.
y'all. I need the lefty clubs.
If it's
She's
going to
expensive.
cost us, if those are expensive.
It's a
If it's
golf
going to cost
premium.
us to buy the clubs.
We can go to Play It Again Sports.
Play it against sports.
Maybe
okay.
Yeah.
Facebook Marketplace.
Yes.
Yeah,
If anybody
okay,
out there
yeah.
watching this has lefty clubs for Lynn,
Yes.
Actually,
Hatter
my mom
Lynn,
might,
I will take
to
it.
be honest.
Just DM me at Hatterlin on X. Let me know if you got lefty clubs. Just throwing it out there.
That would be crazy.
Yes.
We
I would
play-
actually have to stand up and step up to this challenge. And
Yeah.
now she actually gets clubs.
Yeah, that means all of
It's
us have to
actually
go out there.
I'm just saying.
this is concerning
We
more
play
than what
this,
it was earlier.
We play this game at my house. I have a trampoline with a net around it.
Okay.
And so me and my husband will go out and we try to shoot the balls into the trampoline.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say you try to jump out of the over the
No,
net.
no, no. We try to hit the golf balls into the trampoline.
Okay, is it a full size trampoline?
It's a full size
Okay.
trampoline.
Well, at least
It's
you
actually
gotta,
hard because the
you gotta get
trampoline's
it
kind of
high.
tall.
You've got to really get under it.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
That's good.
So
I'd be excellent at getting things over trees. I think.
So the men's team who
ditch.
were number 10 in ACC, they fell unfortunately in the semis to North Carolina in the ACC championship tournament that happened over the weekend here, and I think maybe the final match is happening today. If I'm not
believe so,
mistaken.
yes.
Yeah. So talk about you got individuals though on teams that lots of times do very well. So go Noles on all sports.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Our ladies beach volleyball team.
Yeah.
Now y'all know that's my sport.
That is your sport.
That's my
Well,
sport.
yeah, and we talked about having a Benchwarmer beach volleyball team
Yes,
too.
Yeah.
indeed.
We talk about a lot of stuff that we
Not a lot of
just
sports.
doesn't
See,
make
the way
sense.
that my knees work nowadays.
Yeah.
We were
I
gonna
don't
have a
think that
pro
would
day
be-
too. A
Are
pro
they
day.
really?
No, we are.
Oh, we are. Okay.
Remember?
That's
Yes.
right. Yeah.
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 Oh boy.
So
it's-
our women,
Yeah. I'm
they
sorry.
went to the conference tournament. They came in. They lost in the championship game to Texas 3-0.
Yeah.
But during the build up and play-ins, they beat LSU twice
Nice.
during the tournament, which gives us 4 wins against LSU this year.
Nice.
So, now they're headed to the Nationals for the NCAA tournament, which starts on the 2nd and run through the 4th in Gulf Shore, Alabama.
Gulf Shore.
Uh,
No, that's not that far away.
No.
No,
like a
no,
3-hour
it's
drive,
right up
maybe?
the street,
Yeah.
around the corner.
Yeah.
Look, we were going to run to Tampa. If the
The
ladies
same
knows, we would have went down
Listen,
there.
that's right. So we'll see.
We got Bessie out there, but the front passenger door doesn't open, so you got to climb in through the driver's side.
Hey,
but it's
we got
fine.
a nice Comrex that we just bought, so we can have y'all live remote back in.
Yeah, for those who don't know, Comrex is a unit that will tie in, and we can actually do a
Yes.
live event
Very fancy.
off campus here. And
Yes.
Can we live stream our Dukes of Hazzard jumping into Old Bessie?
We can. We have that
You can
don't
get
know
a
if we
live
can,
view.
like-
You can get a
Yeah,
live
we get a
view.
live
Oh, no,
view
that's-
unit, which is a video portion of
Yeah,
this.
no, the
and-
Comrex is just
yeah.
audio only.
Comrex is
so
just
it's
audio.
full
Well, I mean,
exposure.
that'll still be
But
worth it. I
but
promise.
listen, to try to Dukes of Hazzard into Bessie, I don't think we would make it to the event because I think there would be injuries involved in that,
Probably.
and we'd never make it.
I'm
gotta
pretty sure our
stretch
mothership
first.
would not be impressed with us.
So speaking of women's sports,
I bet
though,
you they would.
women's sports, our lady volleyball, our lady softball team, ranked number one in the ACC,
That's correct.
16-2 in conference, 42-7 overall.
That's awesome.
Yes. Ranked number 7 nationally.
Yeah, and they had a good weekend,
Yes.
but not a perfect weekend
Yes.
against Louisville, right?
Yes. They had a tough fight Friday night for a 10-9 win. Then they came back with a 3-0 win on Saturday. And then something that doesn't happen that often to our ladies, they got shut out.
They got skunked. Yeah, I think that's only happened like twice. I looked back, I think, when they were on the West Coast swing against
Yeah.
Oregon and Stanford or whatever. Yeah,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
And I think too, like Louisville often gives us a run for our
They
money.
do.
Like
They
this,
do.
this is one of our toughest matchups. Like every single year, going into Louisville, like that's a major game.
Yeah.
And we've gone back and forth with
Yeah.
them for
Yeah.
years. Given Louisville, it's flowers. They are, and have potentially been our kryptonite.
Yeah.
Well, if the lady knows would have swept and a single loss by Virginia Tech would have clinched the ACC.
So all they got to do
Regular
though
season.
is win one against Vautech, and they clinch it, right?
Yeah. But Tech did their job. They lost. But
Yeah, we didn't sweep.
But we
Yeah.
didn't sweep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's just the one game. We've got called Senior Showcase on the 30th,
That's correct.
and then we travel to Blacksburg to play Virginia Tech,
Blacksburg to
right?
play Virginia
Yeah,
Tech
yeah.
for the that should be it's going to sort out the ACC regular season title and seeding as far as the softball tournament for the ACC goes. Then we have to talk. Well, put it this way, didn't mention it, but both the men and women were in Kentucky, in Louisville this weekend, taking on both Cardinal teams.
Yeah.
And as we said, the women, they won their series. The men didn't fare too well. out
And as
there
well
this
as
week.
they had hoped. They went in ranked number 4 in the country, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
And but before we talk about the weekend series, they had a tough game against Stetson here.
Yeah.
Stetson jumped out to a 4-0 lead, top of the fourth. Then we came down, bottom of the fourth, tied it up, added 4 more in the fifth. Stetson came back with 2 more in the seventh, and then we came back with 3 more in the bottom half of the seventh to seal the deal.
Yep.
And Stetson's, they're a ranked team, right?
Yes, they
Too,
are.
right?
Yeah. Stetson always, it's the midweek games against,
Yeah,
Stetson,
yeah.
Mercer, UCF, UNF,
It was an emotional game too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was a
first
big
game
Yeah.
back.
First
game back.
First game back after the tragedy.
Yeah,
That's right.
recognizing
Yeah,
the first
exactly.
responders, and students, and staff, and everything.
So
So
it was an emotional game.
Yep. So, but the weekend, it started off good.
Yeah.
It started off good. We won 10-2 on Friday. So we,
That's good.
we were feeling good about
Feeling
it.
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Yep. and-
Pitching was good.
Yep. And then Saturday, the end of the streak.
Yeah.
You know,
It was a 6-game streak,
That's
win streak
correct.
going in, right? Yeah.
yes, a 6-game win streak going in, and then we lost 9-4 to that one, and then something that doesn't normally happen to the Knowles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't make it 9 innings.
Yeah, we got run ruled.
We did
He got
get
run
Yeah,
ruled.
in the game on Sunday.
14-2.
Oh, man, that's tough.
Rats.
But think about it this way: those 2 losses against Louisville, we were 12-4 in conference coming in.
Yes.
We were 31-9 for the season. So
Right.
that's half of our conference losses right there on one weekend.
Yeah, we got so
Yeah.
we're
We're number
12
two-
and
we're number
12 and-
two
yeah,
in
we're
the
12 and
conference.
6
Yeah.
conference wise. Like the Chief Towel waiver
I got no towel. I'll do this. Yeah.
says we are 31-9, which is
Yeah.
good. It's only the second series that we actually lost this season.
Yeah.
And it happened to be an ACC series. Kind of sucks, but they're doing well for the season.
Yeah.
I'm proud of them.
Yeah, so they've only got after they play Clemson coming up, and I think they've got just a couple more, maybe one more series after that.
Yeah,
and
it's
then their
Clemson,
season's done.
and then it's a series against North Carolina.
Yeah.
North Carolina's doing pretty well this year.
Yeah. That's
So
going to be a tough one.
So Kearney play is going to start sooner,
Yeah.
quicker than we want to admit.
Yep.
Yeah, and we really got to start figuring out what more sports can we have Lynn be expert at.
She's gonna have to start polishing up on her track and field.
track and field.
Oh,
yes.
I'm actually very good at that.
Are you good at track?
I am
You're-
very
you're-
good at
okay,
track and
good.
field.
Yeah, well,
So there we go.
you
I
are
am-
cementing your place on the bench. Let me tell you,
Yeah,
lady.
This interview is going well.
This job interview is going
Thank
very
you
well.
much.
Very
And,
well. Yeah. Okay. Well, at least we're going to pivot to really your favorite team, your favorite school.
throw my snakes.
There you go. Yeah.
The rattlesnakes.
Yeah.
As a
So
rat knoll, as they
where
call
she
us
gets her.
hybrids.
I mean, you were part of the March in 100.
I am. That's
If
why my
you-
knees are bad
If
to
you
this day.
were, if you were, can you always say that you are? Is that kind of like a familial thing that once you're in the band, you're always in the band?
Yeah.
Is that the way you look
once
at
you're
it?
there. I still play. I
One
still
band,
play my
yeah.
clarinet.
Yeah.
One sound.
Yep.
Ooh, yeah. But yeah, I'm with Eric. This job interview is going very well.
Thank you.
I have noticed Jennifer taking notes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's the toughest job interview
Yeah.
I've ever done.
I
Yeah.
bet.
But we're gonna talk about the men's baseball team.
Thank you for
Yes.
getting me out of the hole that I keep digging myself, Eric.
Which has historically also been, I feel like some people do sleep on like baseball at HBCUs, but FAMU has also historically had 2 really good teams
Yes.
when it comes to ball handling. Their women's softball team has historically always been very good, and men's baseball
Yeah.
has also
They
historically
always
been
make the
very good.
tournament.
Yeah, they're very, very consistent.
Yeah.
And, they remain consistent
Yeah.
and have been for about, a decade or so now?
Yeah, like I said, the ladies and the men's
Yeah.
team both
Mm-hmm.
always make the NCAA tournament. When they make the tournaments, and that's a blessing because it means that we had a lot of good talent here in Tallahassee.
Yeah.
They started off the week this week. They had a midweek game against Mercer. Now Mercer's a very good team.
Mm-hmm.
Mercer's the team that actually ended FSU unbeaten streak this year.
Yeah.
And FAMU lost to them
Yeah.
4-2.
Yeah.
Here in Tallahassee. Then we had a weekend series against Grambling.
Ooh, Grambling.
Yeah, Grambling. That's
Yeah.
that's what Adrian was talking about.
Yeah,
Adrian
man.
said you got to be Grambling. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jackson State and Grambling. Those were the two.
Yeah,
Those were the key.
we dropped the first game 6-4. Then we bounced back for wins Saturday and Sunday.
Big wins. Yeah, big wins.
11-4 on Saturday and 11-9 on Sunday. And then our next series is against Alabama State.
A&M.
Alabama A&M. Yeah, Alabama
Yeah.
A&M. Yeah. Okay.
A&M.
So, yeah,
A&M.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Alabama
Yeah.
A&M.
And that's I think the last series of the before the tournament. Am I
No, they
correct?
have one
They
more
got
after
one more?
that. Yeah.
Okay, my
they
bad.
have one more after
See,
that.
I think I'm getting men and women mixed up because I think the women. But let me just point out that with those 2 wins against Grambling, they were big wins. They were 11-4, 11-9.
Yeah.
Conference, they're 13-5 in conference now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They're doing their thing.
Yeah.
Like, we talked about, several times on the podcast. They play the tough games at the beginning of the season. So that way when you get into conference play, they're battle tested, So that's a good thing. And we're going to talk about those Lady Rattlers. I like the Lady Rattlers. I just love women's
Yeah.
sports.
And by the way,
I like the Lady
I'm going to
Rattlers.
correct both of us. They've got 2 more series against Texas Southern and against Alcorn State.
That's correct.
Okay.
So I looked down at my notes, which I really should do occasionally, but I don't.
We got to be
there for
accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, go ahead, Lady
The
Rattlers. Yeah.
Lady Rattlers, I love the Lady Rattlers. They are 28-18 overall, 19-5 in conference.
Nice.
Yeah.
They had, notice what I said, they had an 8-game win streak heading into the weekend series against Alabama State.
There we go.
There
Yep.
you go. Yeah.
And the streak got snapped with a 9-7 loss on Friday. But once again, they bounced back just like the men. And they won 7-2 on Saturday and a 4-3 tough fought
Oh,
win.
that's a heartbreaker.
4-3 tough war. They won it. They won 4-3 on Sunday.
Oh, I thought it was a loss.
No, it was a win.
Okay.
It was a win?
Yeah, it was a
Okay.
win.
Okay.
It was a win. And, I'm going to give them their flowers and their props.
Okay.
They did well this season. They defended Tallahassee excellent.
Yeah.
They were 11-1 at home this
11-1
season.
at home. Yeah.
And next up for the Lady Rattlers is the SWAC tournament.
Yeah.
In
this
Gulfport,
coming weekend,
Mississippi.
right? In Gulfport.
Yes.
They go in 17-4 in conference.
Yes.
So, and really kind of on a 2-game win streak there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
So, the tournament starts May 6th and runs through the 10th. We look for the Lady Rattlers to do good things, end up in the NCAA tournament. Hopefully, they can stay here in the Tallahassee region,
Yeah. At the baseball and softball games, do they have the announcer who goes, "Go Rattlers," and do the thing like they do at volleyball games and at volleyball games?
I'm not sure. I haven't caught a game this
I
year.
haven't
Did you
caught
catch a game this year?
Are you aware?
No, I would be lying if I said yes.
Oh, go ahead.
Well,
Fly.
it's been a lot going
Yeah,
on.
has there been?
Change a job.
Yeah,
I've been
you
hustling.
got. Okay, that's fine. We'll catch you some slack.
Yes.
But
maybe
you might,
next
but you
year.
might know if at baseball or softball games, does the announcer shake the rattle when they score a
No, we don't
run?
shake the rattle.
Okay, only at volleyball games. Then I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Volleyball games were so much fun.
Yeah. We fire
telling
cannons
you,
at football
yeah.
games.
Yes,
really?
they do.
We fire cannons at football
Okay.
games.
They fire the air cannon.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I don't know why we. Again, I'm sorry for putting you on the
It's
spot.
good,
then,
it's
too.
good,
Yeah,
it's good, it's
She
good.
pivots well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. And she pivoted so well that she shut us down. That's the final whistle. Thanks, Lynn. I was ready to talk for another 25 minutes. We usually try to keep these to close to half an hour, but we had this job interview going on, and we needed to have some extended conversations. So
There was some
you
good-
did well.
There's a lot of good stories,
And
too.
you know what?
There were a lot of great stories.
we want to thank everybody for listening and watching. And if you really want to kind of put your vote in for how well Lynn did on her job interview, just email us at tallybench@wfsu.org.
You can put a 1 in the chat if you like her.
1 in the
chat.
1 if you like, 2 if no, 3 if it's
We need more.
yeah.
And
So-
don't forget to check out the Marching 100 playing with Travis Scott at Coachella.
Oh, really?
Shameless plug.
Where when is that? I was going to say, where is that?
When
oh,
was that?
Oh, when
It
was that?
Yes, they
last
played.
Weekend.
Yeah.
It was
At
hot.
Coachella.
At
Okay.
Coachella with Travis Scott. It was hot.
Yeah.
It was hot.
That lets you know Tallahassee is talented.
Incredibly.
The talent
Incredibly.
reaches across the world, across the country, across.
It does.
Yeah. Unfortunately, not this year, too far across the NFL landscape, but that's okay.
As they're
Well,
trying
you
to
know,
lay us
always
off of
next
400
year,
degrees.
Undrafted
Because-
free agents are
On the
good.
climb, and they're on the climb.
See, I didn't say it.
I said it.
I
I said
didn't
it.
say it.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Help me get out of here. Thanks to Evan and Jason on the other side of the glass, and we will see you next time on Tally Benchwarmers.